What's happening, y'all? This is Corban Ford, and I just want to take a few minutes to break down my top three Lakers trade targets as the trade deadline approaches. And so, before we even begin with that, I do want to say, Lakers, what do they need? A few things, right? Depth at the center and backup guard spot, better forward. Hopefully, that could kind of play alongside them, kind of string them up defensively. If you can handle the ball a little bit and play make a bit, that's great as well. There's a few different needs the Lakers have. And although I am a Lakers fan and I tend to be pretty optimistic, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think we all know this. Like, there isn't a trade out there in my mind that is actually realistic and not, you know, 2K or basketball GM that you will make and go, okay, great. This team is now a championship level contender. I just don't see that out there. I think, like I said, anybody who follows the NBA, and if you don't, well, now you know, knows that that's just not something that's going to happen, right? Just not out there. I think what you can hope for as a Lakers fan is that the Lakers make a move at the trade deadline that will bring in a player that will help them, that will help LeBron, that will help AD, that will help Austin Reeves to be able to raise the level of play in the postseason and have the support necessary to be able to kind of collectively lift the Lakers up. And then who knows from there, right? The right break in terms of who they play as a team, you know, the chips falling where they do. Maybe the Lakers really make a good run for it, some hot shooting, whatever may happen. But at that point, you at least put the Lakers in position to have a fighting chance. And that's all that you really have to hope for if you are a Lakers fan at this point. Like that's really kind of the goal, right? So yes, these trades I'm about to, or trade targets I'm going to offer up, I don't think they're a panacea in terms of fixing all the Lakers' ills. I just don't think that package is out there. But you can look at that 2023 year, you know, Lakers, you know, at the trade deadline made those moves, brought in D'Angelo Russell, brought in Jared Vanderbilt, you know, had other pieces to come in. And then we saw what happened, right? Had a good, you know, playing game. You had a favorable matchup in the first round against the Grizzlies, favorable matchup in the second round against the Warriors, right? And it worked out for them. So that is what I'm hoping happens again for LA. I think we all are, right? Okay, so with that being said, like I said, these trades, I also want to say trade targets are one, you know, clearly subjective. Clearly subjective. These are my own personal ones. You ask Joe Schmo up the street, they probably have three other different names, but that's what makes this great. We all come with different ideas that we throw at the table, different players that we can see how they fit. That's what makes this fandom a beautiful thing, you know? So that's the first thing I want to say. I already brought up the second thing, which is, like I said, am I saying these players coming in are going to solve the Lakers' ills? Completely no. But in one aspect or another, I think they do bring that needed help in some way. So that's my personal belief. Before I start with the three players, I do want to bring up one honorable mention, and that guy is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, Chicago Bulls, playing amazing, out of his mind, a career year, really shooting the ball well, playing well on and off the ball, distributing all of that. Even defensively, I don't think he's a total net negative, you know, or at least he's not I said it right. He's not negative. So I think he's like a serviceable guy. He's going to play his man. He still falls asleep and all of those things, but he's not totally horrible there. However, there's no way I think the Lakers get him short of making just drastic across the board moves that they've given no inclination of doing. The fact they have to aggregate 4 different players to do that, and that's not even talking pick compensation or all of that, just to have the chance to get LaVine, doesn't make it seem likely. It's possible, but not likely in my mind. The second thing is this here. I want to say before we actually, again, go into my 3 players, I'm not devising trades, so to speak. These are just 3 guys that I would like the Lakers to take a look at, or would be happy if the Lakers acquired. And I'm going to go from to like, yeah, I really would like that. So that's how I'm doing that. As far as trades being devised, listen, hopefully these trades are not having the Lakers use either 29 or 31 first round picks. I mean, in some ways, like, you want to keep the powder dry for that big move of the players I think I'm offering. Actually, the number 2 player I'll be bringing up, you probably will have to do that, but that's just because they're the team that has him is having pushing a hard market, right? So that's the thing. But I also want to say that the 4 players the Lakers will probably send out, some combination of Gabe Vincent, you know, Rui Hachimura, possibly Jared Vanderbilt, although with the number of years on his contract and the fact that he hasn't played, probably not likely. You could look at a Jackson Hayes, you could look at trying to think right now, a Christian Wood. Like, these players are the ones that are more than likely up in the air to be moved. So some combination of, you know, Vincent, Hachimura, Vanderbilt, possibly Cam Reddish could be moved. Already mentioned Christian Wood, and then second round picks, draft capital. That is the pool the Lakers have to go and make a move. But you already know this, so let's kind of get into it. So my number three player is for another guy from Chicago. He is Nikola Vucevic. And listen, I get it. Like defensively, not great, and I totally understand that. I'm not arguing that at all. What I do like is that you have another player who can play alongside Anthony Davis in two big sets. I think that 2020 playoff series, mind you, you have more defensive oriented guys with Anthony Davis playing alongside either JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard back in 2020. This would be like a kind of a reverse of that, where AD isn't necessarily the offensive center like Vooch would be, but AD can play more defensively, kind of clean up. Vucevic rebounds well enough, so I'm not really worried about that at all. But you kind of have the help of both of them kind of coming in together to have these two big lineups that could be pretty devastating in terms of a size perspective for the Lakers, which they have to lean to identity somewhere, and this might be something they can do where, okay, we're bigger on our front line. We have Vooch, we have Anthony Davis, we have a LeBron playing on that front line. Like, that's kind of nasty, right? At least from a size perspective. And, he's having a career year. He's averaging 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3.3 assists, shooting 42% from three. I think that stretch element is something the Lakers have not had from their big since Marc Gasol in 2021. Yeah, I'm trying to go back, and I think that's really it. So you have a guy who could kind of stretch the floor a little bit. His offensive skill set won't be as needed for the Lakers, although there'll probably be times that it is going to be needed because the Lakers have ruts where their offense just isn't going, right? But you have someone who can rebound the ball. You have someone who could shoot it from deep effectively, somebody who, can make plays in the low post. And although defensively you have an issue, he's somebody who could slide in that back line, rebound as well. I think that's just an important aspect to have. So again, if the Lakers were to acquire him, I like him better than Jonas Valanciunas. I definitely do there. Do I like him better than Walker Kessler, who's not on my list? Offensively, he's better. Defensively, he's not as good, nearly. So, kind of iffy on that. But I think you do have a player in Vooch that I think raises the level of the Lakers' floor at least a little bit there. While also kind of sliding into a complementary, role with both LeBron and AD. So that's my number three. My number two, who probably will be in my number one in other instances, is Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, another guy, forward. Defensively, again, as y'all can tell, I'm kind of leaning more offense than defense. I just think the Lakers, defensively, that is something, but I think they have weapons where you bring in another guy who can space the floor and kind of keep players honest on the opposing defense. It just opens up potentially more for the Lakers, for LeBron and AD in space, for Austin Reeves to get to the basket, for these guys to kind of be effective in that. So Cam Johnson, to me, I mean, you know what he does. He goes in, he shoots the ball well. He shoots with a very good clip. It is a career high, 42% for three from him. That's not bad at all. He's averaging 19 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 3 assists. Not even 29 yet, although he'll be there in a couple months. But he's a guy who can come in, shoot the ball well, knows his place in the offense, definitely plug and play if there ever was a guy to do that, right? Defensively, doesn't kill you there. But in Brooklyn's had a career year, spaces the floor. I think that type of gravity that you have from a guy that you can't leave open, or at least for the Lakers, this guy you can't leave open, is really, really good. And Lakers haven't had a lot of that. I mean, LA's kind of been the Lakers actually been the team that kind of shooters go to die, right? Like, we just haven't really seen that level of gravity from a guy that's on the outside. And I think having a guy like Cam Johnson there, a bigger player, but can kind of at least, again, guard his position, I think is solid. But obviously his value is derived from the offensive end. And that you can definitely see in the way he shoots the ball, coming off the screens, off of movement, stationary. He can take a couple of dribbles now. He's kind of developed his game from Phoenix and been able to do a little bit more on the dribble. He's been able to make good ball reads, kind of, get the ball in, simple pick and roll situations, nothing crazy, but move the ball around. Like, he's a guy who I think can come in and do a really good job with the Lakers. AD at the 4, you kind of Cam, DFS, slide AD at the 5. Like, that's a tall lineup, right? And I think, again, not having someone that kills you defensively, while yes, that's not a strength of his, it's not a total negative, right? I think he's improved a little bit on that end from Phoenix, although he wasn't bad in Phoenix except the postseason where, if y'all remember 2021, 2022, Luka Doncic, just, yeah, that was rough. But aside from that, like, again, solid player. and I really would like him in LA. The reason why I have a number 2 is, although I like him better than I like Vooch for sure, the asking price that Brooklyn's going to command is probably too much for the Lakers. Whether it's both their picks, which I don't know if I would do, especially considering his contract situation. If it's multiple players and both picks, it's probably just going to be a lot. The rumor mill has been that the Nets are asking for a lot for Cam Johnson, and the Lakers probably don't have enough to meet that. And if they do, you have to wonder again, as I brought up before we kind of really started talking about this, is he the player to solve all the Lakers' ills? As much as I like him, the answer is clearly not, right? So that's just something to take kind of grain of salt with when you look at what Cam Johnson can provide for the Lakers. But if he was able to come, if something was able to happen where you get that guy on this team, like the offensive, oh my gosh, like the play calls that, Coach Reddick would have at his disposal with a guy like that, whew, just crazy, just wild. Right. My number 1, and listen, y'all, this is going to be wild because I'm sure not a lot of people have this. If you kind of listen to, Jovan Buha, other Lakers people in the know, Jason Timpf, it's been a name that's been kind of talked about a little bit. And I'm all on the bandwagon. I'm all on board with it. But you look at the stats, okay, the guy's playing 20 minutes per game, 6.5 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists. Like, he's your number 1? And I say yes, wholeheartedly. And that guy is Lonzo Ball. Yep, I know. Listen, I love second chances. We saw D'Lo come back and have, at least for the first half of the season, he returned a little bit of a prodigal son kind of story where he came back and really showed out a little bit, made some big shots. I want Lonzo Ball to have the same opportunity, but I also think that Lonzo Ball could be what the Lakers need right now. And I'm gonna do a little Dr. Jack breakdown. You look at Lonzo Ball here, right? You have a guy who's 6'6", lengthy. Defensively, he's all over. A really heady ball player, a good playmaker. He's improved his 3-point shot so much since he left LA, and that was already getting really good. You look at a guy who can play in lineups alongside Austin Reeves, be a really good backcourt partner for him, taking on the tougher defensive assignments, being able to space the floor, being able to run the offense on the second side, or even take over that main guard role and have, Austin Reeves play make off that second side. And of course, you have LeBron there as well. I just think he slides in perfectly. Guard the 1, guard the 2, guard some threes, right? I love his ability. The stats don't pop off the page, but he's one of those players where his production kind of outperforms what the numbers look like. I think he's somebody be attainable. He could be attainable, rather, excuse me. Whether it is a Gabe Vincent, Hachimura, a couple of picks, whatever the case may be, like how you decide to assemble that together, I think he's a player who could be had. And if he was in LA again, like, yes, it'd be fun to have that story. And I am a sucker for those stories, but also to have a guy with that skill set come in and be able to play alongside those, I think it'd be fire. I really, really do. The problem, and I get it, guys playing 20 minutes a game for a reason. All right. Those knees, it's like paper mache. Okay. Those knees are not great, right? I think he's actually going to miss a game because of a quadriceps injury. Like the wheels are shaky, and I understand that, and that's something to be concerned about. Also, it's not lost on me that the brothers missed 2 whole years before this due to injury, and so you do have a major risk in acquiring him, and I'm not lost on that. I'm not. I get it. At the same time, I just think he would fit perfectly. The Lakers need, in my mind, playmaking help in the worst way. Austin Reeves is definitely growing into that role very quickly, but there's still a lot for him to learn. And his highs are highs. I mean, we saw his play against the Miami Heat a couple games ago. The lows are low. We saw his same kind of playmaking game against the Spurs. And also right now, if the Lakers are without Reeves at all, yikes. Because a lot of playmaking responsibilities back on LeBron. Shake Milton, folks, is not the answer. I'm sure y'all knew this, but he's not. And if he is the answer, I really don't want to know the question. I don't. But like, you get a guy like Lonzo, I think it makes everything so much better from that perspective. You have a guy who's basically more of a playmaking wing at this stage of his career, but at 27 is still young. And I think if you kind of monitor his minutes and monitor his health, which you'd have to do to a certain extent, he would just be a great addition to this team. I'm convinced the 34% from 3 is not super great, but I think a lot of that is, the minutes and the volume. I think he can kind of scale that up a little bit. as he's kind of getting more back to form. Again, the brothers missed 2 whole years. It's not just something that snaps back, right? So that is my hope for him. And if he was acquired from the Lakers, I would throw a party. I would dance, and I cannot dance. I would do a lot of things in excitement. And how much that hurt the Lakers? Listen, again, like I said, I'm not saying they're winning a championship with Lonzo Ball. I'm not saying that's a Western Conference Finals bid. I'm not saying any of that, but I do think they'd be a better team than they are right now with the addition of him. So that's my personal top 3. But I want to hear y'all's. So please, share in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong, respectfully, please. But if you do, I love conversation, interaction. Come on now. We love that here. This fan base is what we do. We talk it out. We communicate. We're a collective, right? So definitely make sure to leave any feedback. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel and more great work from Sean and everyone else over here, y'all. So stay tuned. Take care. We'll talk real soon. All right, y'all.